This is for the people that have an interest, the people that want to be involved.
There was no collusion at all.
This is for the people that are upset and looking for a place to use their voice.
Both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either.
This is for the people that want to make a difference, for the people that want to be on the right side of history.
Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
And I get it. In today's society, it's difficult to have a political opinion and to make it be known. This can be due to fear or because you feel like you don't understand what's going on.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
But if he can do it, so can you. Join me every Sunday on Backstories, where we'll discuss all the top political stories and how it applies to all of us. And trust me, this is not your everyday show on politics. Welcome back to Backstories, everybody. I am the host, Brandon Dais, and as always, I am very, very happy to be here to talk politics with you this Sunday. So I'm going to actually start this week's episode off with a brand new segment, okay, and it's going to be called I Cannot Be Bothered. So during each week, as I'm preparing these talking points that I use each and every episode, I come across lots of different articles that are submitted to me or that I just catch on the fly, or pieces of news, or things that someone has said or done that I just find to be either really stupid, offensive, something the media is just blowing up or making more important than what it needs to be, or just something that I just don't have to present you guys because I really want to get to you guys what's important. However, I'm going to use this segment, I Cannot Be Bothered, to highlight some of those less important or dumb, offensive pieces of events or news that I've heard throughout the week. I've established some criteria for this segment, and here it is. It's going to be a political figure that has done or said the most offensive, racist, or hateful comment or action of the week. A political figure that has done or said a comment or action that incites violence. A political figure that has done or said a comment or action that is a lie or attempts to cover something up. A political figure that has done or said a comment or action that is overtly hypocritical on its face. A political figure that has done or said a comment or action that is deemed classless, vis-a-vis, lacks decorum, or is dumb, stupid, and I just flatly don't agree with it. Or any idea, concept, or stance that I deem to be classless, lacking decorum, dumb, stupid, and flatly don't agree with. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the first episode, if you will, of I Cannot Be Bothered. Okay? The very first thing I cannot be bothered with is Ivanka Trump and her GD emails. I mean, here we go again with dumb people having access to emails accounts and doing stupid things with those email accounts, okay? So this past Monday, on November 19th, 2018, breaking news was all over the place about how Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, used her personal email account to conduct government business. That is, she sent hundreds, if not thousands, of emails to White House aides, cabinet officials that work for Donald Trump, and to her own personal assistants. She was literally doing government work on her personal email, which is against the law. And we're going to, as we continue on with the segment, I will dig deeper into why that's such an issue. But, quote, that review revealed that throughout much of 2017, she often discussed or relayed official White House business using a private email account with a domain that she shares with her husband, Jared Kushner. So, there you have it. Ivanka Trump using the personal email to do government business, which is against the law and against several different federal rules and regulations. What's even more sad, though, was Ivanka's defense of using that personal email. Quote, Trump said she was not familiar with some of the details of the rules according to people with knowledge of her reaction, end quote. So, this is a problem for multiple reasons. The first being that, like I said, this is a violation of multiple rules, regulations, and federal laws. The second being that this whole personal email scandal was the premise or the foundation for his argument of why Hilary Clinton shouldn't be the president. And I mean, it was the scandal that the Republicans spent the last several years investigating Hilary Clinton for. It was her emails and how she used a personal email server and personal email account instead of her government account, okay? Quote, during the campaign, Donald Trump said the Democratic nominee's corruption is on a scale we have never seen before and called her personal email use bigger than Watergate. So there you have it. Donald Trump said it. If you use a personal email, it's bigger than Watergate. Trump supporters still chant lock her up at his rallies, and the so-called president, nearly 2 years into his mock administration, continues to tweet about Clinton's emails, end quote. So, Donald Trump's talking all his hypocritical jargon all over Twitter like the high school girl that he is. His daughter, who is an actual female, is using her personal email account doing the same thing he's attacking another female, Hilary Clinton, for, okay? Expecting that this email scandal would be compared to Hilary Clinton, as I'm doing right now, Ivanka Trump's lawyer's spokesperson, and I realize that that's a difficult chain. Ivanka Trump has a lawyer, and for whatever reason that lawyer has a spokesperson, because apparently attorneys need spokespeople now. At any rate, he argued that Ivanka's personal email scandal is different than Hillary's because Hillary used a private email server in her home, and then she also deleted emails. And he also says that Ivanka has not deleted any of her emails, which you can believe him or you can choose not to. It'd be smarter for you to not believe the attorney of the person being accused of a crime. I mean, that's just me, but let's make sure we point out that this is not the first family member who has gotten caught using personal emails. That is because Jared Kushner, who is Ivanka Trump's sniveling and very vivacious husband, he was caught doing the same thing just last year. This is in addition to the following, okay? Quote, she was the worst offender. I repeat, she was the worst offender in the White House, said a former senior U.S. government official, end quote. So now, after catching Ivanka in the act, right, her lawyer claims he forwarded all of the emails from her personal account over to her government account so that way it could be surveilled and watched and in the database that it should be in. And again, this is her lawyer, the lawyer for the person accused of doing something wrong, so no one should believe them. Okay? He stated that he believes his forwarding of those emails over to her government account should rectify the situation, meaning it should all just be done, right? So that means that we should let go of Hillary Clinton's email scandal, right? Or should we just turn a blind eye to all the years of harassment that the Republican thugs in Congress have put Hilary Clinton and James Comey and all these other government officials through, okay? Because we forwarded them to the government account, so let's just let it go, okay? Let me get back to the point because I'm starting to stray. The second thing, I want to move on from Ivanka. The second thing that I cannot be bothered with is Sarah Sanders. I said that. Sarah Sanders and Donnie T's ongoing battle, which is a futile battle, with the free press. Okay? I reported over the past few weeks how the White House were in this whole dramatic situation with CNN reporter Jim Acosta because Jim Acosta was grilling Donald Trump. Donald Trump couldn't take the heat because he is a cowardly little loser. And so he threw a tantrum in a press conference. And this White House aide tried to come snatch the microphone away from this grown man. And he said, ma'am, I'm trying to ask a question. Then Sarah Sanders, she tried to make it look like he karate chopped her or assaulted her in some type of way, which did not occur, okay? Sarah Sanders then followed up with revoking Jim Acosta's press pass, preventing him from coming to the White House, preventing him from doing his job at CNN, okay? Kellyanne Conway Kellyanne the Con, as I call her, or Kellyanne Con Job, because she's a con woman. That's literally all she's there for. They took it a step further. They pulled away his press pass. They said it's his fault. He shouldn't have put his hands on the woman. Only for CNN to sue them in court and ask that Jim Acosta rightfully be given his press pass back. And that's exactly what the judge did. The judge ordered that the White House immediately, and it was in his documentation in that order, that they immediately returned Jim Acosta's press pass because they had not followed any procedures and Jim Acosta had not done anything wrong. So, soon after, Sarah Sanders, after getting that court order, she still continued to threaten Jim Acosta, and she even said that she was going to permanently revoke it. For no reasons, she didn't list any because there were no reasons to revoke it. She was just mad, and Donnie Trump was just mad that they lost this fight in court. Oh well, right? Anyways, she eventually had to show her yellow belly, which means that she had to eventually give up, submit, lose, trying to permanently revoke Mr. Acosta's press pass because he said that they would just continue to take it back to court. Sarah Sanders, knowing that she was going to lose this, decided to let it go. But before she let it go, she went on to take one more slightly petty jab at the free press. She issued all these rules and regulations and said that this was going to be the new expectations for all the reporters in the White House. And I want to share those rules with you because they're absolutely ridiculous, okay? Here we go. Quote, number 1, a journalist called upon to ask a question will ask a single question and then will yield the floor to other journalists. Okay? Number 2, at the discretion of Donald Trump or other White House official that is taking questions, a follow-up question or questions may be permitted, and where a follow-up has been allowed and asked, the questioner will then yield the floor. Okay, this is just common sense decorum, which has been carried out in that fashion every day that I watch the ridiculous press conferences. Anyways, number 3, yielding the floor includes, when applicable, physically surrendering the microphone to the White House staff for the next questioner. And, any reporter there would just openly do that at this point so they don't get accused of assaulting someone through photoshopped and, as Kellyanne Conjob said, sped up video altering. And number 4, failure to abide by any of rules 1 through 3 may result in suspension or revocation of the journalist's hard pass, end quote. So, there you have it. Sarah Sanders is reaching with those short little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. She's reaching up for the sky, trying to grab a star, trying to find some relevance, trying to find some power. And she simply will never do it because she is irrelevant and she is powerless. But in addition to that, I will say that I do agree that there should be certain norms, certain professional standards, and that she's not asking for too much out of these 4 rules. She is stating things that are already being done, and she is trying to insinuate something that did not happen, lying like she always does. But if we're going to enforce these rules, I believe that all parties from both sides, from many sides, as Donald Trump would say, I believe that everyone should be forced to follow those rules, including Sarah Sanders and Donald Trump. So, in other words, what I'm saying is Sarah Sanders, if you ever come across this episode, let he without sin throw the first stone, because you guys are nowhere remotely close to being without sin. Shall we talk about all the litany of lies that were just spewed out from the very first day that you guys began squatting in the White House, when the zesty Sean Spicer brought his ass out there with that suit that was too big and lied about how big Donald Trump's inauguration crowd size was, when we all know that there were maybe 25 people there. Okay? Or maybe we can talk about the onslaught of fabrications that fly out of your trap every day, Sarah Sanders. How you constantly lie without a second thought about it. It's so literally natural and fluid for you to do it. Okay? Shall we talk about the behavior that Donald Trump displays every day? A behavior that is so severely depraved that it took me several minutes to think of a word that was low enough to describe his behavior. And let's just talk about how anyone working for Trump in that White House, any of his cabinet officials, anyone affiliated with Donald Trump, all of you guys sell your souls to the devil and renew your contracts with the devil every day that you continue to work for him. You sell yourself short like $2 hookers. And you do so because you continue to throw rocks for Donald Trump, and then you try to hide your hands as if you didn't do it. Okay? Sarah Slanders, you are a liar. And you don't care about being a liar. You don't care about the fact that you and the rest of you guys that work for Trump are a global embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to your family, and you're an embarrassment to yourself if you were to have any shame or decorum, which you guys don't have. So, lastly, to close up this part of I Cannot Be Bothered, I want to say that Donald Trump, I would like to inform you and everybody that are currently squatting in the White House that the White House does not, will not, ever belong to you. It belongs to the people. And that the people and the free press will be there long after this one-term circus show is over. I want to be crystal clear about that. It does not belong to you, and it will never belong to you. Okay? It'll be a highly frozen day in hell before anybody will allow you idiots to remain in there permanently or make any decisions about it. The next thing I want to move on to, and that the third thing that I cannot be bothered with, is all of the ungrateful Democrats in the House of Representatives, the newly elected ones and the ones that are already there. On November 19th, 2018, there were 16 people that signed this letter. Some of them were already elected congressmen, and some of them were newly elected congressmen. And they signed this letter stating that they were not going to support Nancy Pelosi being the Speaker of the House of Representatives starting in January. Here's specifically what the letter said. Quote, "As we head toward the 116th Congress and reclaim our Democratic majority, we believe more strongly than ever that the time has come for new leadership in our caucus. We are thankful to Leader Pelosi for her years of service to our country and to our caucus. She is a historic figure whose leadership has been instrumental to some of our party's most important legislative achievements. However, we also recognize that in this recent election, Democrats ran and won on a message of change. Our majority came on the backs of candidates who said that they would support new leadership because voters in hard-won districts and across the country want to see real change in Washington. We promised to change the status quo, and we intend to deliver that promise. Therefore, we are committed to voting for new leadership in both our caucus meeting and on the House floor," end quote. So, while I applaud these 16 people for sticking to their guns, I do not approve of this nonsense. I mean, for one, it shows that they cannot prioritize. I mean, they're fighting over who's going to be the Speaker of the House in January. But not only that, they're fighting about who's going to be Speaker of the House. That's the problem. We have an idiot, a complete ape buffoon in the White House just thrashing around like the Tasmanian devil. Yet we're debating on who's going to be the House Speaker. At this time, at this juncture, we need someone like Nancy Pelosi being the Speaker of the House, leading the Democrats. She has experience, she has respect, she knows what she's doing, and she's seasoned. She's the perfect person to make sure all of you guys can do the investigations that you need to do to get Donald Trump out. Simple, right? Secondly, I have a problem with this because none of these Democrats, in my opinion, should have ever, during their campaign, during any interview, they should have never verbalized that they were going to be against Nancy Pelosi. And I say that because I personally feel like if you're going to be on a side, you need to stick with that side. You may not always agree with them, but you don't turn your backs on someone that has not done anything wrong to you. And Nancy Pelosi has not done anything wrong to any of the Democrats, except for be the victim of the repeated attacks from the Republican thugs in Congress, because they continue to attack her because they're scared of her. And so because the Democrats are now acting as if they're scared of the Republicans, they're attacking her as well. It's absolutely asinine. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, we have bigger fish to fry, but these people just don't seem to get it, and I'm going to leave it there. The fourth thing that I cannot be bothered with is this beef between Donald Trump and the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, John Roberts. Last week, I reported how Donald Trump wanted to place an asylum ban to block immigrants that were seeking asylum from their home country that's probably having a war or whatever. He wants to block them from having access to this country because he loves immigrants so much, clearly, right? So, of course, an immigrant advocacy group went to court, sued Donald Trump, and they won. That California judge blocked Trump from being able to issue that ban. So that way these people can apply for asylum, and should their situation be deemed necessary through the proper process, due process, they will be allowed admission to the country, or they will be blocked from being admitted into the country. So I'm going to talk about that story a little bit more in detail later on, but I just wanted to give you some of that context before I tell you why I can't be bothered with this situation. So because that California judge blocked Donald Trump called him an Obama judge because, that's offensive to be appointed by one of the most popular and appreciated presidents, and in my opinion, the greatest president within recent history to do his job, okay? Donald Trump, you are not a president, you are not a dictator, so I can see why you would be offended by this situation, because you are just an idiot, okay? At any rate, because of those Obama judge comments, the the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, had an issue with Trump calling him an Obama judge, or at least he's pretending to, because I want to point out the fact that Chief Justice John Roberts is a conservative judge, a Republican judge that was appointed by a Republican president. Okay, so that's why I say he is pretending, if you will, or feigning that he's upset with Donald Trump. Because this is what his response was to the Obama judge comment. Quote, "We do not have Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges or Clinton judges," Roberts said in a statement released by the court's Public Information Office. "What we have is an extraordinary group of dedicated judges doing their level best to do equal right to those appearing before them." Roberts' Thanksgiving Eve statement ended, "That independent judiciary is something we should all be thankful for," end quote. Okay, that's very professional and conservative and Republican thing to say. But, I appreciate it. He checked the hell out of Trump. And Trump, instead of talking to him as a man, instead of verbalizing any issue he might have with Chief Justice John Roberts, Donald Trump, like the little high school girl that he is, the drama queen that he is, went to Twitter and responded. I'm not going to read his ridiculous Twitter statement. I'm not even going to present it because it's so highly irrelevant, and I cannot be bothered with it. The final thing I cannot be bothered with is Michael frickin' Avenatti. Michael Avenatti is the attorney for Stormy Daniels. And while he is rather handsome, I do want to point that out. Again, he is the attorney for Stormy Daniels. And if you'll remember, Stormy Daniels is one of the porn stars that voluntarily admitted to having sex with Donald Trump. Michael Avenatti has now been accused of felony-level domestic violence against his girlfriend, and I apologize that I'm 9 times out of 10 going to say this wrong, his one-time girlfriend, Morelli Minuti. Okay, I tried. Anyways, she claims that she was physically and verbally assaulted by Michael Avenatti. And the district attorney's office in Los Angeles, they have declined to take this up as a felony-level case, but they have referred it to the city level, and the city level attorney may or may not take up misdemeanor charges against Michael Avenatti. Now, I can't be bothered with Michael Avenatti, number one, because he is Stormy Daniels' attorney, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with her being a porn star. I will say that there's something wrong with her willingly sleeping with Donald Trump, and it didn't involve her job of porn. Then there are these charges of domestic violence, as if the Me Too movement didn't just happen and is continuing to happen and will continue to happen. I can't be bothered by this because Michael Avenatti seems to think that he's going to be a legitimate candidate for the Democrat Party when it comes to the presidential nomination for 2020. I'd be willing to bet my first year's salary as a physician assistant when I finish school that he indeed will not be. Anybody want to take me up on that bet? Let me know. I'll gladly take it up. So, now that I've gotten over the things that I cannot be bothered with, we're going to move on to bigger and better news right after the break.
Results from those primary elections, women winning big.
This year's elections are shaping up to make political history for women.
Tuesday was a historic night for female candidates, and the numbers are only going to go higher.
Victories pushed the number of women nominees running for the House to at least 183.
Women are now the major party nominees for governor in 11 states.
And D.C. is about to get its first Muslim congresswoman. Democrat Rashida Tlaib won the primary for Michigan's 13th congressional district.
In about 2/3 of the races, Democratic primaries this year, where there has not been an incumbent and there's been a woman running against a man, the woman has won.
History being made in Georgia. Stacey Abrams won the Democratic primary for governor, making her the nation's first black woman to lead a major party's ticket for governor.
I hope that you will all join us in our fight for the future.
It's just amazing what women are doing. They feel this so deeply.
In a lot of ways, this is a response to Trump. Women are stepping up.
Is the future female?
Yeah, I think for the Democrats in 2018, it sure looks that way.
So the Republican Party is a failing party, and I say that with confidence, and I say that it is without debate. I'm even willing to go a step further and say that the Republican Party is a dying party, and it is a party that is not sustainable and will not be here in the future. I don't make that claim without any evidence, of course, to back it up. Although, the evidence I will say is evidence that can change at the drop of a hat. However, the trend of this evidence going over several decades is one that is constant and one that is damning against the Republican Party. Now, let's start with referencing, again, the blue wave that occurred in the 2018 midterm elections. The Democrats went into it only needing to get 23 seats. They needed to flip them from Republican representatives to Democrat representatives in the House of Representatives. And they achieved that with a bunch of extras. The Democrats have flipped a total of 40 Republican-held seats. That is, again, they changed them from a Republican district to a Democrat one. That gave them a total net gain of 38 seats because the Republicans flipped 2 of theirs. So, whatever, they only needed 23 to take over the majority of the House. They ended up with 38, and now they have a very comfortable majority in the House of Representatives. And there's no debating that this is a blue wave. It's 40 flipped seats. Come on. The Democrats were also then able to flip 2 Republican Senate seats, in addition to also, all these additions, because the Democrats just keep on winning, they were able to flip 7 state governors' positions from Republican to Democrat. So, the midterm elections are not the only piece of evidence that I need to prove my point. I am someone who loves to read polling results and survey results. I like the questions that they ask people. I like to see the results of them. And I do understand that some people are skeptical about polling or whatever because all the polls indicated that Donald Trump would never see the light of day within the White House, and he's there. I will say that the polls were right because he lost the popular vote by well over 3 million votes. So the polls were right. It's just that something else went wrong, and I think we all know what went wrong. It's currently what Robert Mueller's investigating concerning Russia, if you don't know. That's what went wrong. And the polls also were right in their assessment that there was going to be sweeping Democratic gains in the midterm elections, and it was right. So I personally, and for all intents and purposes of this show, will continue to use polling. It's our only indicator. It's shown itself to be accurate, at least precise, if not accurate. And I just think that they're fun. And they're also my next piece of evidence for proving why the Republicans are a dying party. Let's start with Donald Trump and his poll numbers. When asked whether the American people approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job, 41% approve and 54% disapprove. Very good. When asked if Donald Trump was an honest person or not, America sent a resounding no, as 36% say that he is honest, and 58% say that he is not honest. Is Donald Trump a good leader? 42% say yes, which I personally think is too high, but the majority still say no. 55% say no. Does Donald Trump care about average Americans or not? The answer was not, as 42% said that he does care, and 53% says that he does not. How is Donald Trump handling the economy? And this is something that he actually wins on, as 53% approve and 42% disapprove, which is pure comedy to me because he's done nothing for the economy. Take that how you want to take it. What about immigration? How's Donald Trump doing with that, right? Terrible. 41% approves of how he handles immigration, while 56% disapprove. How is Donald Trump, the racist, handling race relations? Not shocking that 35% approve of the way he handles race relations and 59% disapprove. And that's pretty accurate. Should Donald Trump be reelected in 2020? 59% of the country says hell no, he should not be reelected, while 36% say he should be. I just want to point out that there will always be this 30%, somewhere in the high 30s, that approves of anything Donald Trump does. Literally, if you were to go out and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, this 30% of people would just fucking lose it. They would go bananas because they're that cultishly dumb and foolish to follow and agree with anything that he says or does. So don't be alarmed by this 30% nonsense. That those are the 30% of people that have been supporting Trump since the beginning. Now, when we tick up into the 40s and 50s, if he should ever get past 43, then we're talking about other people joining him. So nothing to worry about with that. I just want to clear that up. I want to move on to how Americans feel about Congress. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Republicans in Congress are handling their job? 31% say that they approve, and a massive majority of 62% disapprove, which is double the percent that approve. But I do want to point out that it is not much better for the Democrats, as they are only at 32% approval, with 57% disapproval. But they do have that blue wave that just occurred, so, there's that. Is Democratic control of the House of Representatives a good thing or a bad thing? 62% rightfully think that it is a good thing, and 30% do not feel that it is a good thing. There's that 30% again. Lastly, should their keeping Donald Trump in check be a priority? A whopping 72% says that it is a priority, and 25% say that it is not. So there is even some of Donald Trump's base, more than 5%, saying that it is that they went over to the side that says that it is a priority. And that's just major. Because for there to be 72%, that includes at least 20% of Republicans in general. And like I said, that includes some of his own base of the high 30s that likes him. I mean, this is why the Republicans are a dying party. I want to give you more evidence of why Donald Trump and his goons of Republicans are a bunch of failing morons because they keep doing dumb shit like this. Here's Republican Senator of Mississippi, Cindy Hyde Smith, and she's the one who said in a public setting that she would attend a public hanging in the front row should one of her political allies invite her to one. And instead of apologizing for her very racist comment, for her comment that illustrates her obsession with public lynchings, she offered us this instead.
We put out a statement yesterday, and we stand by that statement.
Could you expand on it then, why you said it, what you meant by it, and why people in the state should not see it as offensive?
We put out the statement yesterday, and it's available, and we stand by that statement.
Senator, are you familiar with Mississippi's history of lynchings?
I put out a statement yesterday, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I put out a statement yesterday, and we stand by the statement, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I put out a statement yesterday. We stand by the statement. We did address it yesterday. Thank you very much.
Then there's also this video of that same Republican senator from Mississippi, Cindy Hyde Smith. This is a video of her stating that it was a good thing to block certain groups of people, specifically to block liberals, from being able to vote in Mississippi. And here's that video.
Oh my God. To that shirt. Look at one too. Maybe you want to vote. Look at the camera.
And lastly, there's this great picture that depicts Senator Cindy Hyde Smith in a Confederate hat while holding, I'm assuming, to be a Confederate rifle. As you'll remember, the Confederate Army was the army of the southern states in the Civil War that fought to keep people in slavery. So, following these shameful incidents, Walmart, whom had previously made $4,000 in donations to her, and then another company, Boston Scientific, who paid $2,500 to her, and another company called Union Pacific, they've all asked for their money back. And that's good for them. So, but since they've all asked for their money back, I should say that, since they've asked for it back, as of November 20th, 2018, Senator Cindy Hyde Smith now apologizes. And she only apologizes after losing her donations. I want to be clear on that. So, if all that has not been evidence enough for why the Republican Party is a failing party, there's also this, the cases of abortion. On March 25th, 2018, Indiana made a law requiring doctors that treat patients for the complications of abortion. The doctors must report that patient, their age, their race, their county of residence, and other information to the state, which is a clear and total violation of their privacy. On March 27th, 2018, Kentucky representatives passed a bill that bans dilation and evacuation, which is a medical procedure used in abortions when the patients are in their second trimester. However, these patients cannot have that if they are 11 weeks pregnant. As of May 4th, 2018, in Iowa, all patients seeking abortions must get an ultrasound. And if they have an ultrasound with a fetal heartbeat before their abortion, then that patient is banned from getting an abortion, except in cases of rape, incest, or threat to a patient's life. On November 15th, 2018, the Ohio representatives passed a bill that would ban abortions as early as 6 weeks. So I want to point out to you that these polling numbers, these survey numbers, the lack of approval, Senator Cindy Hyde Smith in Mississippi, and all these abortion things, these abortion bills and laws that are not going to stand, I should add, these are nothing more than Republican attempts to rile up that base of the high 30% of the country that supports them. They have the strategy that they believe that if they continue to just play to their base, give the base what they want, then their base will continue to blindly and very stupidly vote for Republicans, which has proven true to this point. And usually Democrats, who are the youth of the country, the minorities of the country, they don't usually turn out to vote so much as the Republicans do. So back in the day, before Donald Trump, the Republicans could get away with only relying on their base, but it really doesn't work that way anymore now that you pissed off the Democrats and the liberals and a whole lot of other people too. So, I want to really hammer that point home for you. The point of the Republicans, they want to only rely on their 36, 37, 38% of the country that supports them. They're only going to give them what they want. And that 36, 37, 38% of the country are the people that want these abortion laws, that want to stop people from getting abortions, that want to control everything, that want to go back to the times of having lynchings and whatnot. And this is what the Republican Party is all about. They're not about moving forward like time does. They want to stand still, which is a foundational reason for why they are a failing, dying, and unsuccessful party. Here's the final quote for this segment. Quote, "But it wasn't enough or even close to enough. Problem number one is that Republicans lost among swing voters. Independent voters went for Democrats by a 12-point margin, and voters who voted for a third-party candidate in 2016 went to Democrats by 13 points. So they lost the independent voters. Trump and Republicans also have problem number two, however. Their base is smaller than the Democratic one. Ding, ding, ding. I repeat, the Republican base is smaller than the Democratic one. This isn't quite as much of a disadvantage as it might seem. The Democratic base is less cohesive. We clearly see that, and therefore harder to govern. Democratic voters are sometimes less likely to turn out. Just said that. Although that wasn't a problem this year. And because Republican voters are concentrated in rural, agrarian states, the GOP has a big advantage in the Senate. That is why, there's so many Republican senators when there should not be. Nonetheless, it does not mean that Republicans can't win the presidency by turning out their base alone, a strategy that sometimes is available to Democrats. Obama won re-election in 2012 despite losing independents by 5 points because his base was larger. In exit polling era, Republicans have never once had an advantage in party identification among voters in presidential years. George W. Bush's Republicans were able to fight Democrats to a draw in 2004 when party identification was even. But that was the exception rather than the rule, end quote. So there you have it, folks. The Republicans have been dying since 2004 with George W. Bush's re-election. And I've got more about their not winning after the break.
Mississippi is too often defamed, dismissed, and disrespected, hurting our communities and our economy. We're better than that. And I know I owe Mississippi more than I can say. I'll work to correct the stereotypes and attract companies and jobs to Mississippi. I'll give our young people a greater sense of respect for themselves and for others. I'm Mike Espy, and I approve this message because I believe in Mississippi, and it's time to show the nation just how far we've come.
Now, I'm going to do some more talking about Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and their not winning streak. Here is Jamal Khashoggi. He was a legal resident of the United States. And again, I repeat, he was a legal resident. I repeat that he was a legal resident because Donald Trump and his brigade of Republican buffoons always try to insinuate that he is less American for the simple fact that he was a Saudi born in Saudi Arabia. So, not only was Jamal Khashoggi a United States resident legally, he was also an employee and journalist of the Washington Post. And during his tenure and career with the Washington Post for many years, he wrote several columns and articles that were on his dissent or distrust or dislike of the Saudi Arabian king and crown prince. So, in addition to all of that, Jamal Khashoggi was also due to be married here in the United States. And of course, in the United States, you can't legally marry more than one person. So in order to get married here, Jamal Khashoggi had to get a document from the Saudi Arabian consulate in Turkey that says that he divorced his previous wife from Saudi Arabia. He couldn't go into Saudi Arabia because he's already been, talking all this smack in his articles and saying how much he doesn't like Saudi Arabia. So it was very unsafe for him to go there. So he had to go to the consulate in the neighboring country of Turkey to get this document. However, on October 2nd, 2018, when he got to the Turkish consulate or Saudi Arabian consulate, however you want to look at it, when he got there, he didn't get his document, I would presume, because he was murdered and dismembered by 15 Saudi Arabian government agents that stormed the building. And before he got there, they had taken down all the security cameras and video cameras. And we didn't hear hide, nor hair, nor peep from the Turkish government at that point. We heard from them after the fact because this was an undebatable violation of human rights to dismember and murder a journalist, a United States resident, and for what? He hadn't broken any laws. So, of course, there was much outrage from governments across the country. But how did the Crown Prince and King of Saudi Arabia respond to being accused of ordering this attack and this murdering? And better yet, how did Donald Trump respond to it, since he's supposed to be, so-called president of the United States? Well, Donald Trump, being the dollar store dictator, fairy tale dictator that he is, he lied, of course, like he always does. And then the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince and the Saudi Arabian King, they also lied. I'm not surprised by any of it because, again, when people do something wrong, they tend to lie about it. What's funny about it, though, is that their lies seem to coincide, as if Donald Trump was coordinating with the Saudi Arabian King and Prince about what they were going to say and how they were going to lie about the fact that the Saudi Arabians coordinated this. Here is a very simple, I will say, and undeniable proof of Donald Trump coordinating his statements with the Saudi Arabian King and Queen or Prince. Gosh, I keep wanting to say Prince. The Saudi Arabian King and Prince, and this was on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Let's take a look.
Let's get to the news. Now to the latest in the disappearance of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. President Trump spoke with Saudi King Salman yesterday and later offered up this explanation to reporters.
I just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia, who denies any knowledge of what took place with regard to, as he said, his Saudi Arabian citizen. We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows? All I can do is report what he told me, and he told me in a very firm way that they had no knowledge of it. He said it very strongly. His denial to me could not have been stronger, that he had no knowledge, and it sounded like he and also the Crown Prince had no knowledge. It wasn't like there was a question in his mind. The denial was very, very strong.
Maybe rogue. I mean, Willie Geist. Maybe rogue killers. This is along the lines of Ted Cruz's father killing JFK. I mean, by the way, I didn't see the rest of that press conference. Did he blame Ted Cruz's father for killing Khashoggi?
Not this time.
I don't know.
Not this time. I mean, but seriously, so he plants a conspiracy theory that the Saudis go, oh, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, we'll start saying that publicly.
Yeah, so he says rogue killers, and then just hours after that, NBC reported that Saudi Arabia's government is discussing a plan to admit Khashoggi was killed after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, according to 3 people with knowledge of the situation. 2 of those people also tell NBC News the Saudis are putting together an explanation that would absolve Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of responsibility by giving him plausible deniability to say he did not order or know about the killing, with one of those people in the report adding he was told by those close to Saudi leadership that the kingdom will claim that, quote, rogue operatives killed Khashoggi during an interrogation or rendition attempt that went awry, seemingly echoing what President Trump said there about rogue killers. NBC's reporting advances earlier reports that the Saudis will claim Khashoggi was killed in an interrogation gone wrong, and President Trump was asked about that yesterday as well.
There's a report that the Saudis might say that Khashoggi was killed during the unauthorized interrogation. Does that sound? I just saw that. I just don't know. I'm going to have to see what they say. And we're working very close with Saudi Arabia and with Turkey, and they're working together to figure out what happened. And they want to know what happened also. So a lot of people are working on it, Steve, a lot of people. And we'll be bound very much by that. We'll see. I heard that report, but nobody knows if it's an official report. So far, it's just the rumor.
So there you have it. There is the rogue killers thing that was, clearly made up between those three individuals. So after a month and some change, however, the Turkish government, the U.S. intelligence agencies, and several allies, they all came out with evidence that proved that it was indeed the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince, MZB or MBZ, whatever his name is, who ordered the attack, ordered the murdering and dismembered of that U.S. resident Jamal Khashoggi, who was also a journalist. And he only ordered the murdering because Jamal Khashoggi criticized him. And it is very important for people to see those parallels that are there. Jamal Khashoggi got killed for criticizing the leader of Saudi Arabia. CNN's Jim Acosta, they tried to attempt to take his hard pass to ban him from the White House for criticizing Donald Trump. Yes, those are not murdering and dismembering, is not, removing a press pass. They are not equal. But certainly there are similarities in the behaviors of there, because Donald Trump is, again, a make-believe, dollar store, thrift store, this idiot wannabe dictator. Okay? I really want to make sure you guys understand that point. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. But I'm going to go ahead and move ahead. Now that we have these reports that confirm it was the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince, the Saudi Arabian King, that ordered this killing, Donald Trump doesn't do the right thing and imposes sanctions. We have laws that require him to do that, by the way, and he's still not done it. Instead, he continues to maintain his support for the Saudi Arabian government. And here's the reasoning for it. Quote, "That being said, we may never know all of the facts surrounding the murder of Mr. Jamal Khashoggi. In any case, our relationship is with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They have been a great ally in our very important fight against Iran. The United States intends to remain a steadfast partner of Saudi Arabia to ensure the interests of our country, Israel, and all other partners in the region. It is our paramount goal to fully eliminate the threat of terrorism throughout the world. Exclamation point, end point." End quote. Okay, the exclamation point. Because that's professional and that's proper to put on a statement from anyone. I'm sure he wrote that statement in crayon and then somebody else typed it up for him. So I want to remind everyone not to be distracted by that quote. And that quote I just read was a small quote from 2 pages of statement from Donald Trump. Again, I don't know which crayon or Etch-a-Sketch machine he made the statement on, but he did. And I don't want you to be distracted by it. Because this 2-page statement only adds up to the fact that Donald Trump has now officially green-lighted and approved the murder of journalists. He has now essentially just said it is free game to do this. And he did it by disguising it with a veiled threat of terrorism. Yes, he politicized the murdering and dismembering of a U.S. resident under the disguise of it's about terrorism. Because he keeps running around here talking about how the Saudi Arabians are going to buy hundreds of billions of dollars of guns and stuff and it's going to create all these jobs here. They ain't made a move yet. Where's the money? Where are these gun orders? And better yet, why are we giving them any guns and missiles and, because they're going to fight terrorism, right? I mean, they can't even take criticism from a journalist. But y'all want to go give them some guns and missiles because that makes sense, right? Anyways. It's also disgusting the fact that Donald Trump I'm not surprised by it, but I'm disgusted, and that's just the human part of me. He didn't even have an iota of decency to offer condolences or offer prayers, as the Republicans like to do, when someone has lost someone or lost something or there has been a crisis somewhere. He didn't even have the decency to do that, but instead he wanted to distract everyone with, ooh, terrorism, ooh, Israel, ooh, hot words, keywords. Let me distract people. Do not be distracted. Donald Trump just approved and said that it was fair game to murder anyone who does not agree with him. Let that sink in. So, I want to give it to you in a little bit less of an emotional approach. Not so much from me. Let me give it to you from a professional journalist. Quote, his statement, which aides said Mr. Trump dictated himself and reflected his deeply held views, which is why I said he used a crayon to write it out and somebody else typed it up for him. It came only days after the CIA concluded that the Crown Prince, a close ally of Donald Trump, had authorized the killing of Mr. Khashoggi, a journalist and columnist, for the Washington Post, end quote. So there you have it. If you don't want to necessarily believe me and all of my emotions, because I am very bothered by stuff like this, there it is. Very neutrally put. Donald Trump's statement that he dedicated himself with his crayon came days after it was concluded that the Saudi Arabians killed him, and he's saying that he's going to remain butt buddies with them. Moving on. Next up, in Donald Trump's not winning streak is, of course, immigration. So I've referred to this in the first segment of today's episode, but if you didn't know, it is legal, meaning it is okay, for immigrants to apply for asylum, which is to say safe haven in the United States, if they are trying to escape their home country due to warfare, drugs, violence, human rights violations, gangs, etc. So, when they get to the border or to customs, wherever they're coming from, they have to apply for asylum. And then they go through a process, and they are either approved or denied entry into the United States. So it should come as no shock to you that Donald Trump loves immigrants so much that he attempted to ban this process outright and to stop legal, approved, okayed immigration from happening. He tried to essentially write his own immigration laws by signing his proclamation to ban and stop all asylum entries, but only at the southern border with Mexico. Quote, John S. Tickbar of the United States District Court for the Northern District of California said that a policy announced on November 9th, the policy I just described to you, barring asylum for immigrants who enter outside a legal checkpoint irreconcilably conflicts with immigration law and the express intent of Congress. Whatever the scope of Donald Trump's authority, he may not rewrite the immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden, Tickbar wrote, adding that asylum seeker would be put at an increased risk of violence and other harms at the border if the administration's rule is allowed to go into effect, end quote. And that was the judge that blocked him and said that he could not do this. And that's when Donald Trump called him an Obama judge. But nonetheless, this judge gave him a scathing rebuke. I mean, just going back, this portion that I love so much, this shade that he threw when he said, whatever the scope of Donald Trump's authority. That's how you know someone's professionally getting ready to just blast you. Whatever the scope of Donald Trump's authority, he may not to rewrite the immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. So, two talking heads for Donald Trump, Donald the Punk. You know, I just impulsively think of names to call him. Since he's so good at it. I'm trying to find one that sticks for him, but he constantly sinks lower and lower that I just can't find one. Anyways, two talking heads for him, one from the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department. They, of course, had their response, and this is what it said. Our asylum system is broken, and it is being abused by tens of thousands of meritless claims every year. It is absurd that a set of advocacy groups can be found to have the standing to sue to stop the entire federal government from acting so that illegal aliens can receive a government benefit for which they are not entitled. Whew. This statement just really fucking grinds my fucking gears. I want to bring up a few fallacies with these two very dumb Donald Trump spokespeople. Their names are Katie Waldman and Stephen Stafford. First, I want to point out that they're not even educated on the most rudimentary, that is, the most basic levels of government and civics, okay? Number one, these people that are seeking asylum into this country, they are not aliens, okay? And it does not make you any more human and them any less human because you're here supposedly legally and they are trying to leave the country or they might lose their life. These are people, okay? They are humans, they have names, they have families, they have emotions, they have connections, they bleed and they dress themselves just like you two do. So to continue to try to demean these people is just on a whole nother level. How about you develop some class? How about you just discover what maturity is? Number two, these advocacy groups that are suing you assholes are not stopping the entire federal government because the executive branch, where you idiots are, where Donald Trump works, is not the entire federal government. The entire federal government is made of the executive branch, the legislative branch, Congress and Senate, and then the judicial branch, which is the courts, the Supreme Court. Yes, there are three branches of federal government, and they were not suing all three branches, they were suing you buffoons to stop you from attempting to rewrite laws which you don't have the authority to do. Donald Trump doesn't have the authority to do. Barack Obama did not, and neither did any other legitimate president before him. Congress writes laws. And that was point number 3. Congress writes the laws, not Donald Trump. He will never. He's not even a legitimate president. Barack Obama, no one else before him did it. And duh, that's because Congress is the legislative or the law-writing branch. So take your issues up with them if you want to change the law. You will never have your way. This clearly did not stand. You idiots have no grounding. So let me make that clear for you. Thank you. Moving forward. In the spring of this year, Donald Trump, of course, in all of his idiocy, he told the White House counsel at the time, Don McGahn, that he was going to order then Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III to start an investigation to prosecute and jail Hilary Clinton and the former FBI Director James Comey. I want to say that this is a matter of Donald Trump's idiocy because even a prepubescent child, again in the 4th and 5th grades of civics and government, they have an understanding that it would be both unethical and illegal for Donald Trump to issue such an order. And if you don't believe me, believe this. Quote, the White House lawyer Donald F. McGahn II rebuffed Donnie T., saying that he had no authority to order a prosecution. I repeat, no authority to order a prosecution. Mr. McGahn said that while he could request an investigation, that too could prompt accusations of an abuse of power. To underscore his point, Mr. McGahn had White House lawyers write a memo for Donnie, warning that if he asked law enforcement to investigate his rivals, he could face a range of consequences, including possible impeachment. End the quote. Beautiful. Good job, Don McGahn. I didn't have any hopes for you at all, but that was pretty. So the mere idea of Donald Trump ordering prosecutions on these two Americans simply because they don't like him is his most obvious display of belief that he can run the Justice Department, which is an independent agency that does, while he can appoint the Attorney General and he can make certain executive decisions within that, within the Justice Department, which I don't understand why the president can do that, but that's a debate for another time, he cannot order investigations. And what cements the fact that Donald Trump is a complete fucking moron is the fact that now, that was in the spring when he first announced that he was going to do this, now in November he is bringing up talks of prosecuting Comey and Clinton again. Yes, that is because now he has put in his yes man, that Matthew Whitaker that I've been speaking on for the past couple of weeks. He's got that yes man in there pretending to be the Attorney General, something that is being challenged in the courts now. We will soon see whether Mr. Whitaker will be removed or allowed to stay. And this is not the first time that Donnie has tried to run the Justice Department, and nor is it the first time he's tried to have them, Clinton and Comey, prosecuted. And it won't be the last, I'm sure. I'm sure he'll try it again before he's finally gotten kicked out for good. At any rate, he accused Comey of illegally spreading classified information because Comey shared a memo with the New York Times that detailed interactions with Trump, and Trump tried to get a loyalty oath or a loyalty pledge from James Comey because James Comey wanted to remain the FBI director, and Trump basically said, if you want to remain the FBI director, you need to give me a loyalty oath, as if they were like Boy Scouts, 6-year-old Boy Scouts in the treehouse doing a pinky promise or blood swear, because that's what we do in government. Trump later denied that this interaction took place. Of course he did. But if the event, Donald, never took place, if you never asked for a loyalty oath, then how is it spreading of illegal information or classified information? If it did not occur, then it would be fiction, so it's not classified. I've realized that logic is difficult for a lot of Donald Trump supporters and Donald Trump to understand. But if Donald Trump is saying something did not occur, but someone wrote on it, it's not classified because it did not occur. That's just common sense, reasonable deduction. Okay. Last year, he also privately asked the Justice Department to investigate Comey for mishandling sensitive government information again, and that was denied by the federal law enforcement officials. Of course it was. And then Donald Trump has also called Christopher Wray, the new FBI director that he himself picked out. Donald Trump called him weak because he refuses to continue to investigate Hillary's emails. And Donnie, I'm quite afraid to report to you that the only thing that is weak is your failed attempts at intimidating anyone in this country. The Department of Justice is not scared of you. I'm not scared of you. The journalists are not scared of you. The American people are not scared of you. The world is not scared of you. We all think that you're an idiot. We all think that you are not winning. I've shown several cases of why you continue to fail and why you will continue to fail. And as soon as Auntie Maxine Waters gets your tax returns, we're going to see how you fail financially and how you're really not the millionaire, billionaire that you claim to be. So, Donald Trump, I'm going to ask you, and I'll allow you to concede now, are you tired of not winning yet? Or do we really need to dig deeper and expose you more for being more of the con that you are? I'll come to conclude after the break.
Brothers and sisters, it's time. And I know you can feel it.
2.
Let's fight for those who fight for us.
3.
You see, something's happening in America. When we stand together, we have the power.
Oprah said it best when she said that if you don't vote, you're disrespecting your families and all of those that came before you that fought for all of us to be able to vote. Voting is how we make our voices heard. Voting is arguably one of the most important duties that we all have as adults. Voting is so important that it has become a priority for modern-day Republicans. The Republicans, knowing that they are a dying and again unsustainable party, they have enacted voter suppression as a means to decrease Democrat votes and make it more difficult for Democrats and minorities in general to vote. They have also gerrymandered the shit out of this country's electoral map. See, what a lot of people don't know is that we get to vote for the Secretary of State in each state. Some of the duties of the Secretary of State is to maintain voter registrations, and to play a critical role in drawing the electoral maps, which dictate how each of our votes are distributed to the winners of elections. Gerrymandering is when those secretaries of states play an essential role in drawing the electoral maps in a way that distributes votes in a way that is more beneficial to their party. Gerrymandering is why there are so many red states and so few blue states on this map of the United States. Voter suppression and gerrymandering are not the only reasons that Republicans maintain power. They are also the reason that so many people feel that their votes don't count. Well, the blue wave that happened in the 2018 midterm only occurred because most of us came out to vote. We flipped the House of the Representatives to Democrat control. And that's because we voted. Now imagine if all the young people and all the other Democrats came out to vote. Imagine what we could do then. Maybe, just maybe, if all the Democrats came out to vote, Beto O'Rourke could have won that Texas Senate seat from Republican Ted Cruz. We all know Beto and his charisma and his ability to evoke emotion from all of us. We've even witnessed his passion. We've witnessed his efforts and his actions. And we've witnessed how he brought the Republican margin of victory, over Democrats to a historic low. But yet, he still lost. I'm grateful for his loss, though, because now he's making waves to become the potential 2020 Democratic candidate for president, and it will be great if he does. There are several Democratic donors who are actually refusing to donate any further money until they find out whether or not Beto will run. And if he does, we must all get out to vote, and even if he doesn't, we must all vote. Because not voting and staying silent is what got us Donald Trump. By not voting, you are saying that your country, your safety, your health care, your taxes, your job, and your income are not worth the few minutes or hours that it may take you to vote. Voting, quite literally, will change your life. There are so many people in my generation and in the generation that is younger than us that are obsessed with celebrities and reality TV more than they are with government and politics. But here's the gag. Most celebrities are actually out talking about how they voted and how important it is to participate in politics and vote. So where are you? We could have had prison reform by now and student debt cancellation. We could have even had Medicare for all and so many other things if only we would just take one day out of our ever so busy schedule of staring at our damn phones to go vote. Vote for health. Vote for freedom. Vote for equality. Vote for justice. And most importantly, vote for your damn self. I want to thank you for watching this week's episode of Backstories. Please remember to like us and follow us on Facebook, which is at @BackstoriesUS. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon Dais. And subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, and now also on Spotify. This episode of Backstories is available on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcasts. The information can be found by visiting our website at www.backstories-us.com. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you for being patient through all of my mistakes in this week's episode. Next week's episode will not be your everyday show on politics. I can guarantee it.